This is CNN. This is the news.
And that's why more people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now, Jim.
Well, it's happening. Donald Trump said on day one, there will be deportations, there will be shutting down the border, there will be all of these executive orders on day one, and you're having a lot of meltdowns and different narratives as far as what CNN is saying and other left-leaning news outlets. So that's what we will be watching today. But please, please like the video. It helps out so much. You guys are awesome when you like this video. Now, let's start with CNN and see what they're talking about as far as these deportations.
The question is, what are you going to do when people are getting arrested while you're dropping off your kid to school? Like,
yeah. I think if I were dropping my kid off at school and they showed up and arrested someone who, I don't know, had committed a violent crime or had existing adjudicated deportation orders, I would A, wonder why they were at the school, and B, say, great, finally, somebody is enforcing the law in the United States of America. I would have no problem with this, truthfully.
Okay, so the deportations are just starting. They are not on the mass scale that Donald Trump has promised since he just became the president. So right now, the discussions are not as heated. They're more emotional based. How would you feel if this happened at your child's school? Well, that's a hypothetical. It hasn't happened yet. Nonetheless, Scott Jennings, I think, has the response all of us have. Why was that person even allowed at my school? I'm glad they have to leave now. These are the current discussions revolving around the deportations.
And what they have said clearly time and again, violent populations, people who have committed violent crimes, and people who have existing adjudicated deportation orders is their top priority. I do not know how anyone, and this is what the New York Times poll said last weekend, could possibly disagree with that.
Yeah,
where were the hues and cries under Obama when he deported 7 or 8 million?
There were a lot.
The economy did not collapse.
There actually
the fruit
were.
Was picked. I mean, whatever it is you argue. I don't buy that the economy is
on this very night where somebody called.
For some reason, what Scott Jennings said always gets lost in the sauce. You already have the violent criminals who will get deported. You also have the 1.4 illegal immigrants who will also get deported. They already have their walking papers. Next time you have this discussion with somebody who opposes the deportations, I want you to ask them if they know or are aware this is a thing. Let's get to the next clip.
It was shocking. I mean, it was shocking what President Biden did on the way out, pardoning his family for more than a decade of whatever activity, any nonviolent offenses. It was breathtaking to us. I don't think that's anything like that's ever been anticipated. That, you know, they call it the Biden crime family. If they weren't the crime family, why do they need pardons, right? Look, there's a lot of attention that's going to be paid to this, and I think that is appropriate, and we will be looking at it as well.
We still don't know why Joe Biden pardoned members of his family. He did not say why, but now we have confirmation. The U.S. government will most likely be looking into why he did that, because it doesn't seem like he had any reason to pardon members of his family. However, I have a very funny clip from Chuck Schumer, who is like, let's not talk about this.
You mentioned, obviously, your concern about the Trump article. What about Joe Biden? Was it appropriate for him to give a blanket pardon to his family on the way out the door?
We're looking at the future.
Okay, so this next clip might be one of the funniest insults I've ever seen on CNN, and there are a lot. This is when a guest on CNN said more people are watching SpongeBob than CNN.
Fox, Congressman, you can't just spin a tail and pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
This is CNN. This is the news. We are asking you to come on and tell the truth.
And that's why more people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now, Jim. Look, I left the White House during a riot. My life was threatened. My life has been threatened within the last few weeks, yet there's no coverage of that. And you all continue this narrative of attacking Trump. You just can't stand the fact that he won and that America spoke.
Congressman,
and that your view is very diminished.
That's not the case at all.
And your view is very diminished.
So believe it or not, apparently CNN actually wants to get away from only hating on Donald Trump. I think they're realizing this is bad for business, and not all the news has to be we hate Donald Trump, we don't like Donald Trump. Apparently this is a thing. We'll see if it happens. Now let's get to the deportations over on Fox News with Tom Homan, our border czar.
What would a person have to do to get a visit from ICE?
For it to be in the country illegally, first of all. I mean, there's nothing in the immigration law that says you got to be convicted of a serious crime to be removed under the INA. So if you're in the country illegally, ICE can visit you. But right now, as we said repeatedly, and the President Trump's been clear, we're concentrating on the worst first. The public safety threats and national security threats. And just yesterday, in the last 24 hours, ICE arrested over 308.
Here's where things get very complicated, because I think conservatives and Democrats still don't have a clear-cut answer as far as the demographic of a legal immigrant who wants to be a good U.S. citizen and they want to do the right thing. It just so happens they came into the United States illegally, thus they are a criminal. And I think that's where it gets complicated. I don't think Tom Homan is going to go door to door anytime soon. Donald Trump is not going to be using the U.S. military. These are narratives that have already been debunked. But again, we are in the beginning stages of the deportations. So we'll see what happens, and I'm sure we will get clear-cut answers soon.
And on inflicting as much pain as possible in communities across the country.
Donald Trump has said we're going to have a legal immigration system. And that's really the issue here is it going to be legal immigration where we know who people are, where they're coming from, why they're coming here? Are they of a benefit to our country? Or are we going to continue to have the chaos of the last several years where millions upon millions upon millions of people just flow across the border? And I heard Maria say this is about inflicting pain. And I strongly disagree with that. I think a lot of pain has already been inflicted on our country. I'm sure Laken Riley's family would say they're in enormous anguish still to this day because of what happened to their daughter when she was violently murdered by an illegal immigrant.
Okay, real quick, I want to point out two things. Number one, like I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of the arguments are going to be emotional based and trying to make you feel bad. How is the community going to feel if illegal immigrants are not there anymore? I don't know, because this is, again, a hypothetical. We have to see the facts and evidence. But the facts that we do have, what Scott Jennings points out, is that the situation is already dire. You have over 10 million illegal immigrants who came into the country, and by the way, a lot of them are great, they're good, they're probably awesome, but it's too many have come in to where we don't even know what to do anymore, and things are getting out of hand. That is why the deportations are now happening.
There's pain felt in cities all over America. Talk to any local official. They're trying to deal with these illegal immigrant populations in New York and Chicago and many other cities. There's a lot of pain that's already been inflicted. The point is this: we have to have a legal immigration system, and it has to benefit the United States. The current system is of no benefit to the United States in the way that it has been administered over the last 4 years. And one final political point: the American people voted for Donald Trump to get this chaos under control. And the New York Times polling this weekend, it was not controversial. People want deportations of people who are here, especially if they are violent criminals.
Which is why I believe at the end of the day, the cruelty and the pain and the division is what Trump is after, because that is what his base wants. And
Maria, that's not true. I voted for Donald Trump, and I don't want cruelty and division. I want law and order, and I want an immigration system that works for the United States.
And Donald Trump is Scott.
Something else I want to point out is that as I make this video, the Laken Riley bill has been passed up to Donald Trump's desk. He has to sign it, and that law will go into effect without a doubt. That is the bill that will allow for illegal immigrants to get deported who committed theft or another really bad crime, essentially. This fills in the gap for the U.S. government to find illegal immigrants who do something wrong without having to go door to door. Now, one thing I want to point out is that this person said, work with Democrats, Scott, if you want to not have cruelty on these families, etc., etc. The only people who voted against this bill were Democrats. Now, there were a lot of Democrats who were in favor of this bill, but again, the only people who said no were Democrats, and I think that's very unfortunate, because this was the one bill where you could have been unified and said, yes, if you do something bad and you are already an illegal immigrant, you need to go. But that was not the case.
Okay, Scott.
Wear pajamas to an airport, straight to jail. Take your shoes off. Take your shoes off on a plane. Jail.
No.
Involved in making Star Wars episodes 7, 8, or 9. Jail. Complain to your spouse after you say, "Don't get me anything." Jail. Put a sensitivity label on a Disney movie or Goodfellas. Jail. Too much cleavage at the inaugural. Jail. Stare at the cleavage at the inaugural. Jail.
That was mine.
And Taylor Sheridan must now edit and or approve all Hollywood scripts. Day one, Jennings administration 2028. Sign it up.
Ooh, Scott took this one to heart.
I have no idea what that was. I don't know what the context was, but every so often when I do research for these videos, I find these very random, funny Scott Jennings clips that make no sense, but they are hilarious. Those were the Scott Jennings executive orders. Now, this next clip speaks for itself, and I think a lot of us can relate to the clip.
The birthright citizen issue, Title IX issues. Every single part of society was being gamed by the left. And finally, Americans got pushed too far. The point is, you don't have to like everything in the restaurant to like the restaurant. There are things, I go to a restaurant, I don't eat any seafood, but I like that restaurant because it's got steak. There are things that Trump will do that I will disagree with, but the entire package is as close as you're going to get to what Americans want.
A very common theme I'm still seeing today, like we saw back in 2016, is this spirit of division among family members, among friends. If you voted for Donald Trump, I cannot be your friend. If you voted for Donald Trump, you are Donald Trump. But like Gutfield said, and I think a lot of us can relate, when you go to a restaurant, you don't like all of the things. You can like some of the things. Nonetheless, you can say you like that restaurant. As far as having the two choices between Kamala Harris and between Donald Trump, the majority of the United States Americans voted for Donald Trump. So this position of saying that if you voted for Donald Trump, that means you are like Donald Trump, you are causing issues to the United States, this is still a very prevalent issue, and it's very sad to see.
Mr. President, what did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the
What did you think of the sermon?
What did you think? Did you like it? Did you find it exciting? Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Very much.
Now, if you are still watching this video, I really appreciate it. That is a clip from after the service in which you had that quote-unquote female bishop standing at the pulpit and politicizing a spiritual moment, one in which the Holy Spirit is supposed to guide you, not berate Donald Trump and J.D. Vance talking about saving the illegal immigrants and keeping them in this country. Now, what many people don't know, I'm not even going to show the clip. I'm going to show the clip in which this female bishop, right after she did that, appeared on CNN.
Bishop, I appreciate your time and your tone there, so serious and genuine. You see him, he's stone-faced, he then looks down, but he's listening to every word you say.
We don't need to portray with a broad cloth in the harshest of terms some of the most vulnerable people in our society who are, in fact, our neighbors, our friends, our children, our friends' children, and so forth.
So you spoke, I like how you use the word gently, because it was gentle. I mean, it was intense and passionate, but yet it was gentle. It was not ugly or confrontational.
Now, look, all I want to point out is that this bishop, right after she did what she did, ended up on CNN. I don't know how that happened. Take it as you will. I just wanted to point that out because I don't think a lot of people realize that happened. However, what I do want to point out is within the Christian community, everything this female bishop is talking about is actually pretty relevant and true. You do have a lot of disagreements as far as the LGBTQ, as far as illegal immigration, things like that. You have the hard stance of absolutely not, no, 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 and then you have the other stance of, well, let's be welcoming, let them in our churches, what's so bad about it? And again, I think even within the church, you have divisions. Let me know how you guys feel about that down below. Again, I really appreciate you guys for watching this video. We have a lot of work to do. There's going to be a lot more videos in the near future, especially revolving around these very difficult topics, especially revolving around the deportations, because in my opinion, that is going to be the main topic of hate against Donald Trump and his administration. Anyway, thank you guys for everything. We'll see you guys later.
We were talking about disinformation and misinformation, and you accused me and everybody else of a cover-up when you sat here and minimalized January 6th.
All
I'm saying is, listen,
I'm saying
it's
it happened, and
my bad. I didn't mean to touch you, Scott. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go
You're doing it again.
Let me tell the viewers something about these two. They actually really like each other, and then during the commercial break, they're chatting, they're talking about the football game.